Hi, I'm Charlie, I'm the drummer in Battleborn, and you're watching Brutally Delicious. Today, I thought I'd show you how to make an old childhood favourite of mine. It's something Nana Battleborn used to make all the time, and that is, of course, sweet rolls. Sweet rolls are an absolute delicacy in Skyrim, and you find them everywhere. So, first thing you do is you need to start off with around about 130 grams of butter, because nothing is delicious unless you've absolutely crammed it full of dairy. So let's put that in. Great, and then what you want to do after that is you want to measure out round about 100 grams of brown sugar, and then you cream the two together. So while I'm measuring these out, so Battleborn, to sort of tell you a little bit about how we came into existence really. So it was just after Lamacraft Festival 2018. I mean, you know what the festival blues are like. You sort of leave, you go home, and as you get nearer and nearer into society, you just sort of get quite miserable, don't you? So I wasn't a part of Battleborn at this time, but in the back of the car on the way back, someone had the idea, well, why don't we make Skyrim-themed music, you know? There's not really enough out there, and Skyrim just lends itself to power metal. So one of our number opened up garage bands. It's just sort of wrote a few riffs and the like, and someone else got to the back of a Sudoku packet and just started, writing some lyrics. And that was actually how the first song was born, and that song by and large has stayed in the same state since then. And it's just sort of grown and developed. I mean, over that year they had a busy time. I think they made 10 songs at that point, of which then that was then whittled down to 5, and that was our final EP. And it's just sort of developed from there really. So our EP was released back in, I think it was June 26th, and we've had some really good reviews from it, you know. We've had plenty of people asking us for interviews. We've had a lot of interaction from people who like the music as well. So it's really fun how it's sort of all coming together, really. Okay, so this is creaming up nicely now. So after this, what we need to do is we need to effectively put in the rest of the ingredients for it. So that is, you want 2 eggs, you want a couple of teaspoons of cinnamon powder, you will want around about up to 250 grams of flour, but you'll do that to measure. You want about 125 ml of milk, a bit of salt, pop it in, and if you're a milk drinker, you'll put in some vanilla extract, but we're not that fancy here. Alright, so that is looking good. So if I pop in the rest now. Yeah, so I joined Battleborn round about, it was December last year, so December 2019. So I was the last member to join the band and to complete the lineup. So I didn't actually know anyone apart from Chris, who's our bassist, so I went to college with Chris. So we had that sort of shared experience, and Chris met everyone else at Southampton Uni, where they all went. Of course, I'm just putting in a bit of salt now. So what happened is, I hadn't really played drums for a while, but I sort of bought a new kit. I moved into this place, I had the space finally. So I did a lot of playing, and I thought Chris was going to a gig, so he was going to Dragon Force, and I quite fancied that gig as well. So I did a lift. I drove down to Southampton. I met Willie there as well. So Willie plays guitar and keyboards for us, and we sort of really got on. So from there, I mentioned that I was a drummer. He said that I knew he was looking for a drummer in the band, so I just thought, well, why not? I'll try for it. They auditioned me, and that was that. So after I joined in December, So the demos were already finished around that point. So what I did is I put a bit of my flair on the drums and how I'd actually play it, but the songs themselves were all finished at that point. And when I heard them for the first time, I was just grinning from ear to ear, because it's just such fun music, to be honest. I mean, who doesn't want Skyrim-inspired metal? But when I first saw that artwork as well, that really, really won me over, because it's just absolutely hilarious seeing it. I mean, it's a bear riding a dragon, well, whilst killing a dragon. They all have abs, everyone has abs, just a shame about the band, really. And yeah, it was just the imagery just really put a smile on my face, so I was glad they sort of brought me in. Okay, so I'm just mixing in the cinnamon. We've got some maple syrup in here. So I've used around 32 grams of maple syrup, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs. I'm soon going to put in the milk, so I'm just mixing this in for the time being. Yeah, so COVID has had a bit of a fun effect on us, really. Well, I say funny effect in that it's just so strange in that we sort of had a few rehearsals from the beginning of the year, from December up until March. But then, of course, it all slowed down. Because of course, we went into lockdown, no one could do much of anything. I mean, the original plan was to do a launch show. So we released the first single in March, then the next one in, I think it was first April, then May. So the first single in April, second one in May. And we were going to do a launch show, so we haven't actually played live yet. So we're going to do a gig, originally planned just to maybe do it at the university, where they all went together, because they still have connections at the Rock Society there and so on. But then, of course, that couldn't happen, so instead we've been focusing on things closer to home. So we've been practicing a lot in our respective houses. Of course, we can't rehearse together. But what we have done is we've put together some live videos, and that's been great fun, actually, and they've been pretty well received as well. So effectively, you've probably seen a lot of bands have done this, in that so we all individually film, we all individually record, someone mixes it, puts it together. So yeah, we all filmed in our respective houses. Willie put together the audio files, so we mixed together everything. We played to a click track so that we were all in time and made sure that it wasn't too sloppy. So after Willie put the audio together, I then collated the video, and yeah, we sort of took it from there, and they look really good. I'm really happy with how they've turned out, actually, and we have had some good feedback. Okay, so I'm just mixing in the flour now, having done the milk, so we should be making a nice batter at this point. So our sweet rolls are nearly there already. I don't think I've missed any key ingredients at this point. It's looking as it should do, it's smelling as it should do. You can really smell that cinnamon at the moment. Oh, it is just like Nana Battleborn used to make. Okay, so we mix that up, make sure there's no unwanted lumps or anything. Lovely, that is looking like a nice, smooth batter. Okay, so we're doing a bit more flour now. Should just be a tad thicker. So realistically, you want to do up to around 250 grams or so. Oh, there we go, that's feeling a bit thicker. I'm just going to move the scales. But yeah, so going forward with Battleborn, we met up for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and that was really nice actually, because I'll say for the first time since lockdown, so we haven't seen each other since March, and as we got to the tail end of July, we finally got the chance to actually see each other. So I had everyone round in my garden for the first time. We talked about the EP process and everything that went into it, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, what we did well, what we could have done better. And you know, it was a really productive day. I think we got a lot out of it, and it sort of really pointed us in the right direction for where we want to go for the next one. Which, funny enough, is what happened last weekend. So we all met up at guitarist Tom's house, and we talked about where we actually want the musical direction to be for the first full album. And yeah, it was really constructive. You know, it was another full day. We talked about what we liked that we included in the current songs, what we didn't like that we included in the current songs, what we should have, what we could have included. We listened to a lot of music. We thought, you know, what a band's doing well, what perhaps could some bands be doing better. We listened to some examples of how we want maybe like tones and that sort of thing for guitars and drums, and just about the practicalities of it all, how much we want to put into it, if we want to use the same people, let's say the same artist who did our EP cover, do we want to use the same person who did our mix and mastering, the same PR and so on. And yeah, it was a really productive day. Okay, so this batter is now looking as it should be. It was a bit weak before, but now that is nice and thick. So while you've been making this, you would have preheated your oven, or you can preheat it now, that's fine. So I chucked it on 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit. And yeah, now what we need to do, now that it's at temperature, is to spoon the mixture into our moulds. So I've got our mould here. So these are, you know, silicon, non-stick, bumped tins. Nana Battleborn would be turning in her grave because she was never a believer in non-stick silicon. If she saw me with this, she would cut it up and say, "Your silicon mold is broken because metal's made of steel." And she always preferred the old school metal implements for this. Someone's getting a ladle. We're going to pop this in. Lovely, and there should be just enough to make 6. There may be a bit left over, but of course that just leaves a nice healthy drink for someone. And then what we do is we pop these in the oven for maybe 25 minutes or so. We'll have a look at them, wait until they're golden brown looking in colour, and then we leave them to cool down, and then we make the icing to go on top, which we'll go into after this. But here we go. Okay, so nearly there, so I'm just going to pop these in the oven then. I normally start for about maybe 5 minutes less than, so I'm going to do it for 25, so I'll put it in for 20, see what it looks like, and then if it needs more, do it for the remaining 5 and so on. But yeah, it should look nice and golden brown, so I'm just going to pop these on a tray. Okay, so that's that. Let's get them out. Now they are looking right nice, I tell you. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave that there. That can cool down for a while, and then we'll turn them out of the tins onto a cooling rack once they've cooled down just a little bit. It's a bit easier to get them out. Okay, so I've turned these over. We're just going to get them out now if we can. So they should hopefully just pop out. Yeah, that's good, because sometimes they do lose the sort of non-stickness after a while, so I'm glad that these are still all right at the moment. Oh, look at that. They are perfect looking sweet rolls. So all we need to do now is just make the icing to go on top. We'll do that when these have cooled down quite a lot, otherwise the icing will go a bit funny. So we'll let them get to sort of room temperature, and then we'll come back later to it. Alright, so these are cool now, so what we can do is we can make the icing for it. So it's a cream cheese icing basically, so all you do is you get sort of around about 30 grams of butter, around about 30 grams of cream cheese. I'm using Philadelphia, And then you can use effectively icing sugar to taste. I mean, the recipe I saw called for 250 grams. That's excessive, but either way, it's up to you how sweet or not you like it. And then you pop in just some milk as well, just to make it a bit runnier as it needs to be. Yes, so I've already got the butter in. I'm now just going to weigh out some cream cheese as well. Pop that in there. And that is actually spot on what I needed. Great, so that's in there. So what we do is we cream this together first, and then I'll pop in the icing sugar after that. So when it comes to Battleborn, and sort of our plans going forward, really, because as I said before, we were hoping to play live by now. We've done a launch show, something to that effect, but of course we couldn't. But in the meantime, we have made some connections with bands as well. Some bands who have been around for a little bit, some bands who have just started out as well. I mean, we've been chatting quite a bit with Fellowship. So Fellowship, they sort of started around the same time as us, and their music's really good. They released an EP around the same time as us as well. And yeah, they're just really good guys. They sort of sound a bit like Twilight Force in terms of their musicianship. And so it's really good music, though. I definitely check them out. And they, as well as us, have been confirmed for a festival on the Isle of Wight, which is Helifest. I'm really looking forward to Helifest, actually, because there's a lot of bands on the roster so far who we've actually spoken to, some of whom we already knew before Battleborn. Various members of the band have had contacts with them. They knew them through university or just through other band projects that they've had. And some, like with Fellowship, that we've developed since then. But a lot of us are actually all on the same billing at the moment, so realistically it almost feels like we're going to sort of turn up for the whole weekend, so we're there for the weekend, and maybe play a 45-minute set or something, and then the rest of it is just going to be hanging out with friends. I'm really looking forward to it. It'd be nice to put some faces to names and actually get to meet some of these people face to face, because so far we've only really spoken online or on WhatsApp and things like that. Okay, so this is mixing in nicely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in a tablespoon or 2 or 3 of milk, just to make it a bit runnier so we can drizzle it over the top. Okay, so we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, but outside Helifest as well, we've had a lot of interest in, well, I suppose just around Europe actually. I mean, we've got a lot of interest in Germany, Spain, Finland, Italy, obviously the UK as well. So I'm really hoping that we can, going forward, actually take it out and see as many people as we can, because that's really the worst thing at the current time, is that we can't play live. And whilst it's nice having the crowd interaction, the fan interaction that we have on social media, a lot of people are interacting with us, it's just not the same really when you can't actually physically go out and put on a show for them and maybe have a chat afterwards and that sort of thing. So really looking forward to actually being able to do that, because they are engaging. And as well as that, I mean, we've sort of put some merch on sale and so on, and we bought enough to maybe do some pre-orders and then just sort of sell the rest at live shows. We actually had to order more because people just sort of keep buying it, which is really nice. It's really great, and I think the artwork that we've got in place, it just looks too cool, to be honest. You sort of just can't not get it, can you? So there's the emblem that he had designed. And we had a few people asking about patches for those. Are we going to get that on a patch? Myself included, actually, because I love a patch jacket as well. And yeah, we finally got some in, and they've been selling really well, actually. That's just because they look really cool. So I'm glad that I can add my own band's patch to my own jacket, Okay, that is looking good. That's looking nice and runny. And you know what? I lied before, I am a milk drinker. I'm going to add some vanilla extract as well, just to give it that finishing touch. And then all we need to do is drizzle it on top of our sweet rolls, and that's it. That's job done. Okay, so all we need to do now is put the icing on. You'll note I removed my braces for this because frankly if I get this on my braces it's not coming out. So all we do, just get a spoon, drizzle it over the top, let it fall down the sides, and you can be quite liberal with this because there is plenty to go around. So you let it fall into the hole in the middle. And these are looking good, so I can't wait to have one of these when we're done. Now the last time I made these, I made the mixture far too thick, so I couldn't really drizzle it, so I effectively just sort of drew the icing on down the side. This time I think I may have the opposite problem. I may have made it a bit too runny. But to be honest, it's not the end of the world. It's still going to end up looking quite nice, and frankly once it's stiffened up a bit as well, which it will do, then it'll be fine to eat. So there we go, and the last one, and then I can reapply some more afterwards. There we go, so now I can just put on some more that's lacking on others, and these are looking really nice. This is just like Nana Battleborn used to make for us. May she rest in peace. Okay, well, there we go. That is that. So now you know how to make, one of my fondest things growing up, the sweet roll. I hope that you have fun making them as much as I have fun eating them. And I hope you pass it on to all your friends and family as well, because you got to share a sweet roll. Lighting it better. And here, there we go. This angle will block the light. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy my sweet rolls as much as I do, and I look forward to seeing you in your town very soon.